Hello and welcome to Friday Nights Live, the Parrish Art Museum's ongoing series of programs every week. We are grateful. Well, I'm Alicia Longwell, the Louis B. and Dorothy Cullman Chief Curator here at the museum, and we are very grateful to our presenting sponsor, the Bank of America, also our wonderful patrons, Sandy and Stephen Pearlbinder, for supporting this ongoing series. In August of this year, when we were able to open our galleries after the closing since mid-March, once again to bring visitors inside, we did turn at the same time to the extraordinary space here at the outdoors at the museum, the beautiful 14-acre campus. And to that end, the Field of Dreams came into being. And I will say, greeting visitors, our visitors, where they are most comfortable now, in the outdoors. And I will say that in that Field of Dreams, one very special dream that came true was that two works by the extraordinary American artist Jim Dine are now in our meadow. Dine is a renowned artist whose imagery, I think, has been a part of our lives since the late 1950s until today. He was born in Cincinnati, Ohio in 1935. He's been an innovator in painting, assemblage, sculpture, drawing, prints, and some 12 books of poetry, which you may not be aware of. Jim is joining us. I could talk about the 300 solo exhibitions, an extraordinary lifetime of work. It's very much ongoing. And Jim is joining us tonight from Paris. Hello, Jim.
Hi, Alicia.
Are you unmuted? Hi.
I'm unmuted. I'm unmasked.
Yeah, unmasked as well. Isn't that true? We'd like to start with just a brief introduction to the Field of Dreams for those of you who haven't seen our installation, and then a brief film about the actual installation of the piece, the Wheatfield, Agincourt, a piece that dates from 1989 until 2019. So one that Jim has thought about for a very long time. It's come to us now, and we thought it would be interesting to see the actual installation. It's not easy for a sculpture to go across the United States and come to rest here, but I think you'll enjoy seeing that. After that, we'll come back and we'll have a chat. All right?
In 1988 or 89, I made in Walla Walla at the foundry there a bronze sculpture called The Wheatfields. It was 16 feet long. It was a horizontal sculpture, and it was made in the landscape of Walla Walla, Washington, in the high Palouse, the high desert. At the heart of the summer, 100-degree heat. And I built it outside. It was cast, edition of 3, I think. I saw it. Someone had it in Walla Walla. Someone owned it and put it out on the lawn, on their lawn. And I looked at it when I was there, and I don't think it held the landscape space, the space of being outdoors. I often feel that about sculpture, except for Calder and maybe Rodin's Balzac at the corner of Boulevard Montparnasse and Boulevard Raspail. I don't think sculpture has a chance to compete against nature. But I thought I would try. I started to take the Wheatfields apart, my copy, I had a copy, and lengthened it to 24 feet long instead of 16. And I changed it by adding, not subtracting. I added objects. I made it a grander still life, if you will, and a much more far-seeking landscape. I finished it last summer in Baker City, Oregon, at a foundry I now cast at called Blue Mountain Foundry. It comes apart so it can be moved, and it fits together very, very simply but in an invisible way. They did a great job on it, the way it's been retooled to fit in. But it's a brand new sculpture. It's really not just the Wheatfields revisited. It's a new Wheatfields. I felt it was more than a Wheatfield now. It was many Wheatfields.
And now we see the film of the installation here at the parish this summer. Hi, Jim.
Hi,
Hi. Did we get it right?
perfect. Nerve-wracking, but it was perfect.
A little like the proverbial saying the sausage made, right? No, it was a very hot day and long hours and a thrill to see it. You didn't see me over there in the corner helping, but I was there. Looking at the Wheatfield, I thought perhaps we'll look at a few images of some earlier works that you did, which might be antecedents to that, or as you said, it's a work you began in one iteration in 1989, and this final version I won't say final version, but the current in 2019. There, I want you to see, Jim, the Wheatfield now reconstituted, the grasses. Sits very beautifully in the meadow.
Yeah, it looks beautiful.
Oh, good. And this is the view looking north towards the building. And this is a recent addition. This is Isaginskin's orchids, the sculpture in the back, of course, rising up there. And this is, you can see now the final topography there with the Wheatfield. This is an earlier piece, which I thought you might bring us to 1964, Stephen Hand's Path. I think that's a name of a road that many of us here on the East End will recognize as being in East Hampton. You were here at that period. Can you say a bit about this piece? That
I came to East Hampton for the summers in 62 and left forever in 66, I think, summer of 66. And in all that time, I was painting and building and working. And the log that's in this painting, I cut from a tree in Stephen Hand's Path. I just stopped my truck and cut it down. And I thought it was a mysterious title and had some poetry to it, actually.
it is indeed. And in the background, that's
the title.
Yes. Stephen Hand's Path. No doubt a 16th century or 17th century road in East Hampton. Is that a painting behind?
Yeah, it's a painting. It's half a bathrobe on its side.
It's another surrogate. And the axe, which the tools, one of the tools that appears throughout your work, it's almost like a brush stroke, as it were.
Well, it references my past.
Yes.
That's the original Wheatfields.
Okay.
This is the one I built in the summer of 90 or 89. And I spent a long time outside making it in the landscape of Walla Walla, Washington, where I live. I still live if I could ever get back there. And it referenced all the detritus that was in the landscape and in the junkyards and in the field where the foundry was. And I spent a long time outside on a chair and then would add to it. I first started with the tractor wheels and a long beam, 16 feet long, wood beam, and then I added mud and clay to that and straw, and then I started to build a still life, as is my long history with objects. I was thrilled to work on it. The wood that was used between the parrot and the skull was different for each cast because that's lost wood. I mean, it was burned out in casting, and that gave a kind, for me, it gave a kind of transient quality to the whole thing. But as I said in the film about we first saw, I saw it last winter in Walla Walla on someone's lawn who owned this piece, and I couldn't take it anymore. I thought it's too mild. I don't feel that way anymore. I'm a much more complicated old man than I was a middle-aged guy. So I had my cast, and I sent it to the foundry in Baker City, Oregon, where I have cast for 10 years, and took it apart, and really literally took it apart and added to it. While I was there, they would cast pieces to add to it, and it became a long poem and harangue between it and me, and I eventually got what I really wanted and wasn't able to get in 1989, and that is a sculptural landscape that transcended still life, I think. That was my intention anyway. I also wanted to use it as a glossary of terms. And you know, when you're 84 at the time, I was 84, I wanted to straighten a few things out. I wanted to list the objects I had used and made. I wanted to list the references, the influences that worked on me. You want to talk, don't you?
No. I mean,
no, please. I feel like I'm going on.
No, it's like, I mean, it's truly a lexicon in imagery. You know, no words, but as you say, a complete compendium. So you elongated it to, as you say, add on to that visual language. And you decided to use much more paint, did you? In painting?
It's much more painting in this one. It's much more, it's sculpture and painting. It's not just patinaing or decorating the bronze, it's painting.
Right. That's a nice one. The detail is extraordinary, and I hope. And this is a work from 96. It's another
piece I did at that time, and that is the same. That is the skull we cast from. That's the wooden one I made with the chainsaw, and this one I burned with a torch and put it onto a plow, and it's called the plow. It references also the landscape in Walla Walla, this wheat growing community.
And this is from cotton. It's cottonwood, yes. This original.
It's cottonwood. Yeah, it's cottonwood. And I mean, I can't tell you how thrilling and inspiring it was to go to Walla Walla after growing up in Ohio and living most of my life in New York or on the East Coast or in Europe, to go to the West Coast and be a citizen of this enormous sky and heat and no humidity and Pacific light.
Let's talk about Hooligan.
Well,
at the entrance to the museum on the north side in the meadow.
It's the most recent Venus that I've made.
Right.
And it's made from a Venus that I had carved 10 years before and was horizontal like a flying lady on a log. And I took the wooden part, and took the log and stood the Venus up and added to it and made it in a kind of rogue Venus, a hooligan, a young violent troublemaker, if you will, within the imagery.
Exactly. You've quite often taken classical sculpture, classical themes in your wonderful drawings from the glyptotech, and you've spoken about how you relate to the original artist, the original sculptor, the original carver of those pieces. Is that
Is what?
Is that is it possible to really transport yourself to that original work? It's been through so many
but you're aware that when you are drawing from antiquities, when you're drawing from sculpture from the ancient world that isn't signed, you are aware that you're dealing with somebody who had the similar intentions you did, that is, to make something. Mm-hmm. And it becomes a very close bond. This long line of people who work with their hands. I'm proud of it.
Good. It's beautiful. She too sits amid the wheat fields. This is a recent work of yours.
It's a woodcut.
Yes.
And it's, I made it that it became a screen, a folding screen. It's, how long? It's about
3 meters 50.
It's about 10, 12 feet long. 11 and a half feet long. It's a woodcut I cut in 5 panels. Mm-hmm. And each panel, I painted first the paper and then printed it in black. But each time it's a different configuration of color. It was this, besides it being a screen, we also printed it so it could be one work on a wall.
And was this made in Paris?
Yes. It's printed in Austria with printers in a town called Apeldoorn, it's called Steindruck, their company, and they print lithographs and woodcuts. And I go there maybe 10 times a year to work. They're youngish printers who have replaced my obsession in Europe with Aldo Cromlech, the great etcher who died. So I now go to them, as it were. It's outside, 45 minutes from Vienna, 8 miles from Hungary. But cutting it, I cut it all once, about in the summer of 2018. I cut it I painted it first with ink on these panels, and then I cut it for a long time. It took a long time to simulate my brushstrokes.
Well, let me ask. No. So you spoke about being in Walla Walla on the west coast of the States and the light there, and how being in that particular landscape influenced you. But also there's work, of course, that you do down in Parrish. You have a studio in Montrouge, I believe. And is there a difference in the work you do in the two places?
No, it's just me. It's always me carrying what I got on my back, my ideas. It's where I prefer to be when I'm there, and when I don't prefer to be there, I leave and go to these other places. It suits me that as a method of working. It suits my restless soul.
Well, let's look at a few more of the work. I love the title of this, "Asleep with His Tools, Jim Dreams," which occurred to me as a perfect title. You have been so prolific throughout your life and continue now. I don't know really when you sleep. I love your Instagram account.
It's not very much, I can tell you. It's not easy to sleep.
Your Instagram account, which is wonderful. We should everyone follow you. Has hashtag always working. Is that right?
I had no idea.
It seems that way. Let's look at another recent work, Victor. This is beautiful. You're working a lot on, these are on ash tree panels, is that
Yeah,
correct?
those slabs of
Yeah,
ash tree have
slabs.
been cut in the lumber yard, but
Mhm.
they have not been squared up except the top and the bottom.
Right.
But they're flat. And I found them very inspiring in the lumber yard I went to here in Paris. And I thought it's as good a thing to paint on as anything. And they're quite tall. It's quite tall. It's about
Yeah.
9 feet tall, and they lean against the wall.
Right, right. They're beautiful. You so often come back to wood in your work as a theme or a substrate, and
Well, it's something I can manipulate itself
mhm.
with chisels and axes and chainsaws
Mhm.
while I'm painting. It's just part of my method.
Thank you. This is The Prophet in the Storm.
And it's a 8-foot square painting I made this winter during the quarantine here, and the quarantine allowed me to really focus.
Mhm.
Since I couldn't leave much the house and the studio, and so I just stayed there in the studio and worked on it and built it. It's more than a painting. It's a relief. It has
Right.
objects and wood, and my depiction of the prophet is, I thought, somewhat gloomy, but also, as always.
Mhm. You've spoken about this new studio in Montrouge that it has inspired you in many ways by a new, larger space. I know you said carrying your work on your back. Has this let you stretch out more in a way?
Well, the bigger the place, the larger the work you can make.
Yeah.
And this is a very large studio with no windows. It was a garage for taxis, so it's very big. It's the biggest I've ever had, and it's inspiring piece of real estate. This is also an 8-foot square one. I've made 5 of them over the last 3 years, which are going to be shown next week, starting here in Paris at my dealer, the Galerie Templon. And this one is called The Tongue. And I worked on it for a year and a half, I guess, and just kept building it and tearing it apart. It is my want. That's a pleasure. And also, it's one of the ones I made finished in the quarantine.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you typically work on a panel like this flat? Is it on a table?
No, standing up, vertical.
Always. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Vertical and well supported,
Right.
because I do a lot of electrical tools to build and to erase. I erase with grinders and with chainsaws, and I'll cut out a piece with my chainsaw and then patch it from the back and bring it forward again. It's a method of correcting. It's like a drawing method, like erasing.
Right. It's probably the best known fact in your biography that you grew up with your grandparents owning a hardware store. You grew up with tools.
I grew up with tools.
I think we have a couple more. Yes.
This one is has in the middle a cast iron relief face that I cast in Normandy here, and it's been set into the canvas. But the canvases are all wood; they're not canvas, so therefore they give me a lot more flexibility of what I can do. I can cut out a square and set this in. I can make tools stay on. I can, it's very versatile way to paint.
I love this.
This is called Red Laughing.
Mhm.
And what else can I tell you? It's Red Laughing. You know?
Yeah. I only wish we could all come to Paris and see the exhibition at the
Yeah, me too.
Templo.
I mean, these things, to see it on this little screen is not
I know.
the way to see it.
I know. Well, I hope it will be.
I made them 8-foot squares so they could be overwhelming.
I just wanted to, so often in your work, I think, or what I think of as well, being almost Shakespearean references, and the breadth of your work certainly has that Shakespearean gravitas. And I wondered about, certainly you did an exhibition of the skulls in which you subtitled it, "I Knew Him," which I thought perhaps was a reference to the line in Hamlet, when Hamlet discovers the skull in the graveyard.
Right, yes.
Maybe not. Yes, I knew him. But I did want to ask you about your subtitle for the Wheatfield in this current
Agincourt.
Agincourt. Is that?
Well, it refers to that battle and refers to Henry V. Yeah. But it because I thought it looked as in a kind of like it was a product of a medieval battle, spears and stuff. But it also, I thought, referenced Uccello too.
Yes.
And to make it was a kind of battle, So it's also a very pretty French word.
Agincourt, yes.
Yeah.
Where there are many wheat fields.
Right.
And here's one other. Forgive me, the title on this one is
At Night I Ride.
At Night I Ride.
Thank you.
And it's once again the same format. It's masks I've carved and faces I've carved and affixed the canvas and painted on the canvas. And what else? What do you want to know? Be specific, please. I can't. There it is. What can I say?
No. What?
I've always been involved with German painting, German expressionist painting, and probably it references Kirchner, probably 1912.
Why don't we could go to, I think we have some questions here from people tuning in. There we go.
Let's have the questions.
I guess the significance of the skull, the size of the skull, the prominence of the skull in your work, and specifically the piece in
the Wheatfields.
Wheatfield, yeah.
What's the significance of it, you mean?
The size.
Because it's so big?
Yeah.
Or it's the focus of the piece.
Right.
I'm over a long career have used the skull many times in prints and sculpture and paintings. Clearly it has to do with the beauty of the anatomy, but also with mortality, and not absurdly. The size is, if I had put a Venus there, it would have been a lot cheerier, the piece, probably. But I chose this because it chose me.
This is another of the recent works.
Forgotten Harvest.
Forgotten Harvest.
Fragrant Spirit.
14 feet long. and it's got two casts of the same face, but this time the one on the left is bronze, the other aluminum, and it's another big landscape, huh? It's in the show right now, you know.
Mm-hmm. Do you title your works? This is Forgotten Harvest, Fragrant Spirit. Do the titles come to you after completion usually?
Yes. The titles always for me are like another piece of the medium to make the thing complete, you know? And I didn't start the work by saying I want to make a painting of, Fragrant Spirit. It came to me afterwards, after the painting was done.
You have made self-portraits throughout your work. There are several from a recent series. Will these also be in the exhibition?
Yes, they'll be in the exhibition. Each one is about, it's about 18 by 24 inches. And very heavily painted oil paint, just oil paint, and little charcoal sometimes. But I've made about, I made about 25 last spring and summer of 2019, but they're stuck in Walla Walla. So I made another 20 here for this exhibition. And it's, I like a lot of the things I paint over and over again, I paint myself because I'm a willing model and I know myself well.
Do you look in a mirror or do you?
There's no need to. I've looked long and hard in the mirror.
You've spoken about looking in the mirror as a child and recognizing your face and finding it sort of infinitely interesting. I think that has come true. There's nothing more interesting, let's face it, than one's own visage, you know, and how it changes with age and how it changes with the mood and what comes psychologically into the painting that you aren't even aware of. Yeah. These are extraordinary. Will they be shown? They'll be shown as a group.
Yes, they are shown as a group. I think there's like about 16 in one room.
Is it always? It's always exciting to see your work on view and to have it out in the world.
You mean for me?
Yes. Is it?
It's exciting, I guess, but it's daunting a bit, and also. At this point, I'm just as happy to keep them in my studio and look at them myself and keep on working on them. It's rare when you get it's rare when I get much feedback. I get more feedback from something like this than, than showing. I mean, come on, I don't see the people who come usually. I don't stand around.
No.
Working the floor.
Good. Well, I can say that I in the Wheatfields that are here in our meadow, extraordinary attraction to people. People spend a lot of time looking at the piece, a lot of time.
I'm happy about that.
Discovering the elements, and we should really, we have, and now wonderful the idea of people posting to Instagram when they're here and their comments. So we'll make sure our hashtag and we can pass those comments on to you. It's
good.
We had, it's out there. People can touch it if they want. They feel it is tactile. It is very tactile in a way. we try to discourage actually climbing on it because it has a lot.
I'm happy that you're discouraging that.
Discourage that for everyone's
Yeah, I'm very
liability,
happy
but,
about that.
people are extraordinarily drawn to it. It's an amazing.
Oh, good. Good.
And the hooligan, she is rogue on the other side. It's
I like seeing the cars. It was
Yes.
nice. A nice human touch.
Yes, I think Montauk Highway, you've been blessed not to have to deal with it for many years. That said, I hope when unmasked and free to travel, perhaps you will come this way. That would be exciting.
Yeah, for sure.
We have some wonderful pieces of yours in our collection, a very early little blue palette, which I'll send you some of the images that we have. And very happy, anyone who's ever spent any time here on the eastern end of Long Island, we claim as our own, that you've been in our particular terroir. So let's see. Hello, Jim. Can you address masculinity and femininity in your work in terms of the subject, like the Venus or the robes, and the dominance of scale? This is from Maria.
Well,
Does that intrigue you?
well, I mean, what do you mean address it? I mean, I feel very masculine, very feminine, and the scale interests me, and it has nothing to do with gender. It only has to do with size of canvas, size of sculpture, how it holds the room or the landscape, or the challenge it makes. I mean, I've also made a lot of small work. But thanks for asking.